And the first two things that you got to check off is, one, can I deal with constant phone calls? And two, can I smile and talk kindly and professionally to every person that calls me?
Go hard, or go home. Go hard, or go home.
My name is Keith Leveson. I'm a broker associate with MVP Realty and the team lead for Migrate Orlando. Today I want to talk to you very briefly in regards to individuals who decide to sell their own property. We call these for sale by owners, or FSBOs. Now, I'm going to help you with one of the biggest issues that you're going to run across when selling your own property. When people sell their own property, they are going to receive a ton of phone calls. Amongst those phone calls, oftentimes you're going to receive calls from realtors, brokers, real estate agencies that are trying to get you to list your property with them so they can sell your property. And sometimes, let's be honest, these realtors, brokers, real estate agents, agencies, they don't use the best means in order to secure your business. Sometimes they'll just trick you or straight out lie to you. And what ends up happening because of this is, as individuals who are selling their own property receive phone calls, they start to get frustrated and they just start hanging up on any realtor that contacts them. A matter of fact, this just happened to me, where I was reaching out to a for sale by owner and they just got upset, assumed that I was calling them to try and trick them into listing their property, and they hung up on me. Here's your problem when selling your own property. You cannot do that. You become your own salesperson. If you had a realtor that hung up on every realtor that called them, what would you do? You would file a complaint and you would fire that person, right? If you are hanging up on realtors that are calling you, you need to fire yourself. Why? Because there are individuals like me who I call not to try and trick you, not to try and take advantage of you, but I'm calling because I really do have a customer that is interested in your property. And we're trying to set up an appointment to come see it and see what terms we can negotiate that will make you happy as well as the buyer. If you're selling your own property, you have to be a good salesperson. You have to answer phone calls. You have to listen. You have to talk with realtors. You have to see where they're coming from. And no, you cannot just sink in and say, you bring me an offer with $420,000 or we're not talking. Well, guess what? This is the reason why for sale by owners, on average, sell for less, $30,000 or more or less, than they do with a realtor. So think about that. You're walking away with less money because, let's be honest, you're not a realtor. You're not a salesperson. You do not know how to market your property, and when people call you, you get annoyed. If that describes you, you need a realtor. You need a professional. So, I understand you're thinking about selling your own property. If you decide to, make sure you answer every phone call, be polite to every person you talk to, and have great conversations. Even with the individuals that are lying and conceiving, because they might be lying at first, trying to trick you into listing their property, but who knows, eventually they may actually have a buyer who's interested in your property. And if you act like a jerk, there's no other way for me to put it. If you act like a jerk, you're going to lose business from real realtors, real brokers, real companies that are trying to bring you business. Not everybody is a liar. But you also have to appreciate that when you are selling your property, you have entered a market where there are options. So you need to know that you're going to have to negotiate, compromise. You're going to have to work with the other individual. It's not all about you. One of the greatest negotiators, in my opinion. He's taught at Harvard. I've read a lot of his information. What he speaks about is BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And we've talked about this before. I'm not going to get into it. But what I am going to focus on is one of the aspects of BATNA, or a good negotiation, is that the seller does not win. The buyer does not win. The reality is we are looking for a win-win situation. And yes, that may mean as the seller, you have to compromise. But it also means the buyer is going to have to make some compromises. That way, when the seller walks away, you selling your own property, you're happy with what you transacted there. And when the buyer walks away, he's happy with what transacted there. Now, if you can't handle all of that, if you can't handle the constant phone calls, because don't be mistaken, as realtors, as a broker, when I list a property for sale, I get inundated with tons of phone calls. My phone rings constantly. But my job, what I'm paid for as a realtor, is to answer those phone calls, to answer their questions, to negotiate, to communicate with those individuals. When you're selling your own property, that's part of your job. So if you can't deal with all those phone calls, you need a professional. Secondly, if you think that it's your way or the highway, you need a realtor. Because that attitude, when portrayed to a buyer or a realtor that's trying to bring in a buyer, what they're going to say is, this person is unreasonable. And when we make a contract to buy their home, what type of person is this going to be to work with? What type of individual? When we discover that the roof is uninsurable, what's he going to do? What's she going to do? We already had a problem when I tried to show the property and she or he said, you can only come at 11 a.m. and it has to be on Wednesday. And if it's not that, then I don't care, and you better show up with your buyer, and your buyer better pay you. And if your buyer doesn't pay you and doesn't come in with an offer that is at least my asking price, I won't even consider. What did you just do? You scared them away. You scared them away. You didn't try and make a sale. You did not try to negotiate. You were a jerk. So, if that describes you, don't sell your own property. Hire a realtor. Now, if you can deal with all the phone calls, if you can smile and talk to everybody, if you can negotiate, if you can be flexible, if you can understand where the buyer is coming from, then sell your own property. But you really need to run down a checklist. And it's more of a internal, emotional skills inventory, honestly. And the first two things that you gotta check off is, one, can I deal with constant phone calls? And two, can I smile and talk kindly and professionally to every person that calls me? If you can't do those two things, those are the top two. If you can't do it, you need to hire a professional. If you like this video, please share it, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, like the video, click the bell to be alerted anytime new videos are posted. I don't just try and post videos that focus on me as a broker, associate, or a realtor. I try and post videos that will help those individuals whose homes didn't sell or they're trying to sell their homes on their own. Really, I am the type of person that I believe if you give good into the world will give good back to you. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.